So I want to go back to this date right here, which is March 12th, 2001, and March 13th, 2001. These are the little cards that we were given to be extras in the Majestic, which is a Frank Darabont film starring Jim Carrey. I'm going to show you a little clip.
What kid?
You know, the kid who rings the bell.
What kid? What bell? What the hell are you talking about?
The kid, after the mine caves in. The kid. He runs up the hill, he rings the bell to alert the town.
Is that in the script? What page are we on?
What if we gave the kid a disease?
A disease?
A disease! Braces on the leg, that sort of thing.
But he runs up the hill.
He could hobble.
Hobbling's good. How green was my valley thing? That McDowell kid was great. Is he available? Too old now. Plus, he's English. So he's English. So?
Script set in Tennessee.
Tennessee. Did I get that page?
I love Carrey's reactions right
Nobody
here. This is
wants
one of
disease. It's
his
depressing.
serious films.
Boss is right.
Yeah,
Who
that's
needs
wrong.
disease?
Looks horrible. Just thinking about it. I hate disease.
Box office poison.
Hold on. I think I got a what if. What if we give the main character, what's his name?
Floyd.
Terrible name. Change it. Say we give No Name a dog.
A dog?
A dog. No Name's faithful companion. Toils at his master's side in the coal mine, day in, day out. Cave-in happens. Only the dog gets out. Right, because dogs are smaller usually. And it's the dog that runs up the hill and rings the bell.
He can't really speak at this moment.
Holy crap, that's beautiful. I'm choked
I
up.
got goosebumps just then. People love dogs. Lassie pictures always grows high.
So instead of a disease, we give the kid a dog?
Forget the kid. There is no kid. The kid's a dog.
Brilliant. Could be just what the movie needs.
Let's ask the writer. What do you think, Pete?
Wow, that's just amazing.
So you can hear the piano playing, and on my demo I use this little scene, and so it transitions. You can hear the piano playing. This is actually the scene I'm in. This is like an intro, DVD intro.
Sometimes it seems like everyone here is from someplace else. The reason? Movies. Everybody loves the movies. Which makes Hollywood everybody's town. And they come here by the busload. Ladies and gentlemen, the next show will be starting in 5
So the African Queen is right here, and you'll look, there I am right here. Back in 2001. And right here, you'll see this sign right here. The Sand Pirates of the Sahara. And the writer, Michael Sloan, who knew Frank Darabont in high school, Hollywood High School, was really created a little masterpiece in a script. There was a movie inside of a movie, you know, kind of like a Midsummer Night's Dream. There's a play inside of a play. So in this segment, we were introduced to Peter Appleton going into the Grauman's Theatre at the time to see one of the movies that he's written and kind of, you know, celebrate himself as a writer and what he loved to do in Hollywood as a screenwriter, even though he was pushed around and eventually silenced, or they attempted to silence him because of the Red Scare. You have to see the film; it's pretty good. But the interesting part, from my perspective as an extra, was seeing the Grauman's Theatre, which is now I believe is the TLC Corporation Theater. TCL. So it's called the TCL Chinese Theatre because it was named, the rights changed on the name. First, it started off as the Grauman Chinese Theatre, opened in 1922 by Sid Grauman. Then it changed to the Man's Chinese Theatre, and then eventually adopted the name TCL Chinese Theatre because it was bought, that theater was the naming rights was bought by TCL Corporation, which is a Chinese electronic manufacturer. But anyway, the theater is actually the amazing part of this little story about me being an extra, because I got to go into the theater and I got to see it and the architecture. Here's one kind of shot of some of the architecture of the theater during the daytime. We were there at night during the filming. And I've got kind of an exciting story about Jim Carrey. It's kind of a haunting story because of being starstruck. You know, I had just come out to Hollywood and I was 27, and I really had no idea what I was doing. I knew that I needed to do something. So I got involved with a company called Cinex, I believe. I think they're like Central Casting. And they got me on set. And this was like my first time to be on set. And I was going through a very stressful time because I was trying to get situated in Long Beach, California. And I finally, you know, I was able to show up on set on time, and we had to go through all this stuff. Cinex, which I believe is similar to Central Casting, or Cinex or something like that, that was on the paycheck. So that was the company at the time that was on the paycheck. They would bring you in for an interview and sit you down, and you just like a job, you would turn in your headshot to them, and they'd ask you questions about your size and everything like that, and then and that was a really quick interview. You had to stand in line for a long time to be seen. I think you had to get there really early in the morning, and then you go on kind of like a roster, or you go on a list, and eventually if you get called, then you just show up. And I got a call and was able to show up on time, and it was a night shoot at the Grauman, or what they're calling, what they call now the TCL Chinese Theatre. And it went on overtime, so we got paid more than we would on like a normal extra thing, because Jim Carrey does a few takes and is quite funny on set. I kind of saw him at a distance. I was behind the Sand Pirates of Sahara sign. I was directed by Frank Darabont, and he said, I like your energy, kid. I don't know if he said kid, but he's like, I like your energy. I'm gonna say clouds or something like that, and you're just gonna walk as quick as you can right behind the sign, and then So in that moment, you can see me just for a little segment go behind the Sand Pirates of Sahara sign, and then I vanish, like I'm going into the theater. So I'm just kind of a theater patron, someone that just bought a ticket. I'm trying to get to that movie. It was funny because we got to go into the theater, and Bruce Campbell has actually got a little small role in the Sand Pirates of Sahara, and we had to watch this clip, this crazy clip, which actually I found out that Frank Darabont used some of the props from The Scorpion King in it, but it was this real cheesy black and white film, and it was like being at the movie theaters, really, And of course we got to see this, the stand-up energy of Carrey. I watched him kind of at a distance, and I noticed he was doing this thing with his feet. He was like shuffling the ground with his feet, kind of thumping or kicking the top of the ground, just kind of very quiet, which I didn't expect that about him. And then he'd just explode with all this energy. But the thing that we were told is that he was very, very, very serious and took everything very serious and was a very hard worker, which he was. But he was also very funny. And he just had this ability to kind of reach inside you and kind of make you laugh, even though you were trying to concentrate on what you were supposed to do. I was supposed to listen for the word clouds, and then I would walk, right across this, just move forward right across behind the sign, I guess as much energy as I could, and we did the take like 3 or 4 times. So Frank Darabont would be in the back and he'd say cloud, and then he'd say another word like sky. So he'd go up to the actors, that the extras, at the time, the background artist, and he'd give you a code word like, sky. You'll move when you hear sky, rather than using numbers, because numbers, I guess, can be confusing. And he would just say these order of, or he said these orders of words like cloud or sky or whatever, and that's when that actor would move. And so you would remember, okay, I'm cloud. So when I hear the word cloud, I'll move. So you wouldn't lose your place, kind of thing. It's cool that I ended up on 35 millimeter, just for a moment. It's an interesting feeling, because back then they were using 35 millimeter. But anyway, there was a time when we got inside the theater, and I want to show you a segment of what the theater looks like at night. Here's a photo of it right here. And this is the famous theater that's used in, and I'll show you several clips of it in many films, a lot of films. That's the inside of it right here. It's kind of what it looks like today. I mean, in 2001, it looked very different. And they did some historic stuff to it to make it. That's the entrance, kind of like where this all took place. And this is where they have a lot of movie stars put their hands and feet and things like that in the concrete, the wet cement, to dry. It's that famous theater. You always see people's handprint. And it's very dark inside at times. This is the lobby, which was really cool. Some of the lobby stuff right here. Now they're displaying dresses from like Marilyn Monroe. That's Marilyn Monroe's dress right there. That's some of the ceiling stuff. That's one of the lanterns on the inside there. That's the lobby. I remember going to the lobby and getting some popcorn. The popcorn was sugar coated or something, so we would eat it. And we got inside, and I remember they stood me up. They said, well, we may use you in this segment where you're going to walk down the aisle, blah, blah. So I was standing there, and I always kept my distance from Carrey, because I heard, keep your distance from Jim Carrey. Don't look him in the eye, or something like that, You know what they say. And all of a sudden, boom, right next to me was Jim Carrey, right next to my shoulder. And I just kind of went, and I was like, yeah, that's Jim Carrey. Yeah, he's standing right next to me. Don't say anything. Don't ask for an autograph. Don't do anything. Just be quiet. So I did that. And then eventually, they told me, well, no, we don't want to use you for this segment, because your height and weight and everything at that time was kind of like him. So they set me down in the front. And I was with some of these other extras and stuff. And Jeannie McCarthy had actually come in for a while when they were taking a break. It was like an all-night shoot. It seemed like it was like 10 hours or something. But some of the things that I remember that were interesting was when we were waiting, we waited quite a bit because we were dealing with a film camera. And they had to check the gate, and there was a lot of things they had to do. And they would take like 5-minute breaks or 10-minute breaks sometimes. And so it was night, and it was kind of cold. It was a really cool kind of thing that went on. We were waiting. We were going to take a break so we could leave the part or the carpet from from the opening of the Graumans. And I ran into this gift shop that was right next to the TCL Theater, and it had like photos of James Dean and Elvis and stuff like that. Just a gift shop that was normal, but there was a little crack where this big spotlight was kind of at where the spotlight that spots the sky and everything. And there was another spotlight that was near there that was kind of warming this little room. So some of the actors ran in there, to take a break, and it was kind of warm because of the spotlight being in there. And I remember standing in there, and there was this female actress in there. She was kind of warming her hands by the lights and stuff. And then there were people like swing dancing outside. It was like kind of a magical moment. It wasn't captured though, but it was a moment of these extras that were kind of celebrating the fact that they were probably in this film, even though it was a sleeper. It possibly is kind of a hidden masterpiece because it's a period piece about Hollywood. Peter Appleton's character gets amnesia. He forgets. He has to be reminded of who he is, and he's being scared out of being a writer by the Red Scare. There's a lot of fear in the air during that time in the 50s and during the second Red Scare. So we were kind of, I guess people were kind of happy about being in it, even though it did get a 4.9 on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think it should get a higher rating, but and it should be looked at again. It's kind of the purpose of this. But this is what they gave me to get on set. And listen, there was a lot of preparation for even getting to this night that went on March 12th. I guess it didn't go on to March 13th, but I guess this was good just in case they had to go back and reshoot for another day. But we had to go in like 3 or 4 days beforehand and get our hair cut. We had to get sized. They had certain outfits, and we were never to talk about the film to anybody. We were never to mention it to anybody at that time. They wanted to keep everything quiet. So it didn't release to high box office numbers. And it did get a 4.9 on Rotten Tomatoes. But ultimately, I think it's an interesting film, a period drama piece about the time in Hollywood that went through a horrible scare. And even today, we're going through a different type of scare. That's not, it's not a red scare where, are you a communist? But there's a different thing going on with the pandemic and stuff now. That's a whole different thing. It's more biological. It has nothing to do with your political beliefs, really, or we think that it doesn't. But it is interesting that that's going on today. I guess I felt like making this post about the Grauman's Chinese Theatre or the TCL Theatre and Jim Carrey and Peter Appleton and Frank Darabont and stuff. And one thing I wanted to say real quick about Frank Darabont, which I think is really interesting, is he is a 3-time Oscar nominee for many great films. One of the films that he did was Shawshank Redemption, which Google has rated as #1 film of all time right now, most popular film. Another one that he did, of course, was The Green Mile, which is another great film. And believe it or not, The Majestic is the only feature film that's not tied to Stephen King. Now, he's done The Walking Dead, he's done a lot of television, he's done a lot of other stuff, but this actual film, The Majestic, is the only one that's not, only feature film that's not related directly to Stephen King. As a director, he's done, he did the collection of Night Shift collection, which I don't know much about. That's mostly video, but he did do the Shawshank Redemption related to Stephen King, The Green Mile, that's directly related to Stephen King, and The Mist, which is another feature film that he did. So a lot of the stuff he does is Stephen King's work or Stephen King's stories or his novels. And he makes them into features. But The Majestic was one that he did with a high school friend named Michael Sloan, which he went to Hollywood High School with. So see The Majestic, that little moment where you see the Sand Pirates of Sahara, there I am, you can kind of see my nose, and I'm kind of walking like, I'm kind of going, right by. But you'll see me just, and then that's it. So anyway. The vlog is over, and thanks for watching. Until next time.